All right, my memo tonight is about the new competency-based education curriculum, 26333, and the current push and pull being witnessed as teachers across the country are trained on its execution. Even before it began, the training exercise was opposed by the Teachers Union NAT, which through its Secretary General Wilson Sossion urged its members to boycott the Ministry of Education-driven exercise. The three-day training has been generally peaceful in most parts of the country, but in Kakamega, several NAT officials were charged with inciting teachers and disrupting training sessions. NAT is opposed to the trainings on the grounds that the implementation has not been anchored in law and that stakeholders have not been sufficiently consulted. The new CS, George Magoha, on the other hand, is adamant that there is no turning back. Now, there is no denying that parents are tired of this back and forth about the new curriculum. And the current tug-of-war is only the latest in a string of disappointments for the millions who just want their children to get a good education. The rollout started under the then Education Minister Fred Matiang'i, and its implementation was taken over by former CS Amina Mohamed. And now the new Education Minister, George Magoha, is picking up the pieces from his predecessor. We can all admit that the program was in tatters, and pretending to speedily implement it is at the very least unrealistic. First, the Teachers Union should accept that teachers, like all other professionals, always need regular training. Even without the new curriculum, refresher courses are inescapable in a fast-changing world. The union should therefore discuss the reservation with the ministry and TSC, not engage in the less than becoming tantrums we've witnessed in the last couple of days. It does not make any sense to board a train and sit facing the opposite direction. NAT should jump on the wagon and negotiate the speed, implementation, and modalities, and not attempt to take the train back to the station. The new CS2 should assume a new start that carefully corrects what had failed under the previous CS as far as the new curriculum is concerned. He should speak to the NAT boss, Wilson Sossion, to find out what he's shouting about. Sit around the table and resolve it. He should call the stakeholders, lead them, guide them, persuade them, and not browbeat them, because this is not a contest of bravado. It is about the future of millions of Kenyan children whose future is now at stake. The CS and Sossion owe the country a lot more. They owe us an adult's show, a show of leadership and maturity. They owe us a meeting of minds, not a pointless village wrestling match. That's my memo.
My kicker tonight is on the voice and views of Kenyan taxpayers, and they must have a say on the so-called affordable housing project. Early this week on Hussein Mohammed's Newsnight here on Citizen TV, housing peers Charles Hinga confirmed, without a trace of irony, that allocation of houses will be by lottery. What this means is, for the 1.5% levy deducted from the earnings of an employee and employer, you get a gambling ticket to a housing draw. Lottery experts will tell you something about odds, and on this housing gamble, the odds are impossibly high. Assuming 5 million lottery tickets are sold for 1.5% of your earnings, those become 5 million entries to a draw that will have only 500,000 winners, or something like that. And this just when we all thought that government is not a casino reference was a joke in passing. Now, the views of a majority of Kenyans on this housing levy are well known. Kenyan taxpayers have spoken on television, in newspapers, and in the social media, and they're telling the government, no, listen to us on this one. One Professor Alfred Omenya, whose views are widely shared on the social and mainstream media, holds that this whole affordable housing thing is nothing but a cash cow for someone somewhere in this country. Professor Omenya also raises the pertinent question of the identity of the so-called private investors that will drive the project. Who are they? The social media is awash with angry reactions of taxpayers who, I submit, deserve just an explanation, not just an explanation, but also participation in this housing puzzle. A dismissive, even arrogant approach can only further enrage a taxpayer that already feels overtaxed, but under-rewarded. It therefore counts as an act of bad faith that the Attorney General moved to court to try and set aside an earlier court decision delaying the housing levy deductions till the 20th of May. That application, which the court rightfully rejected, is, in my view, a testament in insensitivity and lack of responsiveness to public pain. The Attorney General, who is still new in the office, by the way, may need to familiarize himself with basic facts about our country today. One of them is that Kenya is not home to very many happy taxpayers. The housing levy he sought to fast-track is one more burden to the same taxpayer that has lost billions to, among other things, government-related scandals, fictitious dams, mega projects, and even sacks of money of individuals. This is the same taxpayer that has a near zero trust in any new government promise, no matter how noble. This is the same taxpayer that is very aware that the same government promising to deliver 500,000 houses could not deliver 5 stadiums. The taxpayer is aware that the same government that is promising to build 500,000 houses could not house its 100,000 policemen. Some who live in undignified conditions, even right here in Nairobi. The taxpayer is of sound mental condition and well aware of his surroundings, but that taxpayer is in pain. And there's that signage written on delicate consignments: handle with care. The taxpayer is angry and fragile. Handle with care. That is my kicker.
There's also something else I also want us to handle with care, and it is about the devolved funds. Yes, the money channeled to the 47 county governments. Since 2013, the 47 devolved units have received in excess of 1.5 trillion shillings. Do you feel the 1.5 trillion shillings effect in your county? Well, this week, the Senate Public Accounts and Investments Committee began probing financial anomalies in several counties following a report tabled by the Auditor General. Some 8 counties like Laikipia, Embu, Homa Bay, Migori, Taita Taveta, Lamu, Murang'a, and Nairobi were identified as notorious in management of these devolved resources. Embu County was the first to appear before the committee and has had an adverse opinion from the Auditor General from 2013 to date. In fact, for the 2017-2018 financial year alone, Governor Martin Wambora cannot account for over 250 million shillings. Cumulatively, you're talking about 2 billion shillings. EACC has 2,996 corruption cases from the 47 counties. 147 are undergoing evidence analysis. Assets recovered so far, we are told, are in excess of 2 billion shillings, while the Senate Public Accounts Committee, chaired by Moses Kajwang, wants counties that received adverse opinion from the Auditor General to be barred from receiving half of their annual allocations until they can show prudence in management of these public resources. We are approaching the end of the 2018-2019 financial year, and the budgeting process for 2019-2020 is almost complete. CRA, that is the Commission for Revenue Allocation, has proposed 335 billion shillings for county governments, while the Treasury is proposing 310 billion shillings. In this financial year, counties were allocated 310. Well, that matter is a subject of mediation because county governments are protesting. Now, I would want to see counties allocated more funds. However, such increased allocation must correspond with increased vigilance from the MCAs. It must also correspond with increased prudence. We can't have county bosses ask for more money to entrench more corruption. The fight against corruption at the national level must be undertaken with similar or even more vigor at the counties. Kenyans must resist devolved corruption. In fact, recently members of the Public Accounts Committee in the Senate were shocked to learn that unscrupulous county officials had been forwarding fake budgets to the Controller of Budget for approval. In fact, spending money after collection is the most notorious form of graft by governors. This is what we call expenditure at source, and it means there is no paper trail and there's no accountability. It makes it very difficult. Let me put it this way. I won't be surprised if a few governors, as soon as tomorrow, are arrested just to send a message home that devolution of corruption is unacceptable. Totally, completely.
My take tonight is about dishonesty. Political dishonesty, to be specific, the likes of which I dare say we have never seen before in this country. While some say the handshake brought peace and calm in the wake of the tumultuous election, it has also ushered us into the twilight zone, politically speaking, that is. You see, we now have an opposition within the ruling party. The opposition in the ruling party making decisions, advising the president on government projects. We have an opposition openly touting government projects, even launching them. We have the president and the leader of the opposition going to foreign nations hand in hand, seeking loans for the country's development. What could possibly be wrong with that, you ask? This is a sort of unity we have sought, right? Well, for one, when politicians speak with one voice, we should all be very afraid. Also, one starts to wonder whether their statements speak for the people or for their own personal gain. As we speak, the president and former Premier Raila Odinga are in China, seeking more funding for the SGR. Yet, in 2016, Raila was extremely critical of the country's debt situation. He had a list of 5 demands of the president regarding the debt situation. He accused his government of overborrowing, overspending, and overstealing. He further told the president to, quote, wake up and smell the coffee, that the country was on a downward trend. What changed his position? I refuse to believe that it is because of a simple handshake, seeing as we have not received a comprehensive explanation on this. And yes, he does owe the whole country an explanation. He is a leader, and we must judge him by his words, considering he is now seeking more money in our name, more money that we will pay back. He is not the only one, folks. We have certain members of the ruling party who have consistently told us that someone is ruining their party from within. But at the same time, we've been told, Chama kiko imara. So what does this mean? We are told that the presidency is intact, yet the deputy president seems to have many problems with the very things the president is praising all the time. The war on corruption and the handshake come to mind. Surely, which is it? Then there is another group that has taken it upon itself to defend the president and treat the deputy president as if he is a member of the opposition. Further, there's a former senator who appeared on Citizen TV's Daybreak show today who criticized government policy and communication. But when asked by Wahiga Mwaura whether he had brought this up with the deputy president, with whom he spends a considerable amount of time, he was quick to clarify the extent of their relationship. He said that their interaction is only concerned with 2022 and the politics therein. Well, perhaps this was rather an honest statement. At least we know that it is not a matter of principle. Well, we surely have to elevate our standards to those of honesty, accountability of one's statements and position. We have the right to ask what is happening within the ruling party and whether they are in sync when it comes to the war on corruption, the housing fund levy, Huduma number. And we have to ask for accountability from the opposition too. Words are not just words, or at least they shouldn't be. Diversity of opinion is what will keep a government in check. Let us not hide our political dishonesty. The handshake cannot be our shield from political dishonesty. It probably brought unity, but there's also such a thing as unity in diversity. And that is my take tonight.
Now, tonight, my angle has more questions than answers. Yesterday, Parliament, specifically the National Assembly, in a rare yet refreshing move, sought to bar a foreign company from operating in Kenya for allegedly being here illegally. Please note, this is the very company at the center of the government's National Integrated Identity Management System, NIMS, the very platform carrying the much publicized Huduma number. The MPs faulted the company for, among other things, operating in Kenya without a license and without a local representative. Now, both of these requirements are found in the Companies Act of 2015 and are meant to, among other things, ensure that foreign companies do not come here, engage in monkey business, and leave without a trace. Now, the MPs must have been even more concerned because this company, Idemia, has changed names several times since they started operations here in Kenya. This is a company that has supplied the IEBC with election kits since 2013. It was once called MS Morpho, and then it morphed into OT Morpho, then to Saffron Identities and Systems Security, and now it is Idemia. And all the time it has won tenders to supply election kits, and now Huduma number kits. Even that very fact should raise many fundamental questions about it, which is why the government response to the move by Parliament was curious and disturbing. A statement issued by the CS in charge of the ICT Ministry, Joe Mucheru, today simply dismissed the parliamentary resolution as inconsequential. The CS, who should have been jolted by these shocking revelations in Parliament, could only rush to assure the country that the ongoing Huduma number registration would not be disrupted by this recommendation from Parliament. In fact, the CS went on to state that the company only supplied 35,000 kits for Huduma registration, that this was done as what he called an outright purchase, and that there is now no existing further contract with Idemia. Really? Someone supplies 35,000 expensive kits to the government and there is no ongoing contract? These tablets are surely not a pack of sweets that you walk into a shop, buy, and walk away. What if 10,000 of them stop working the next day? Do you go back to the same supplier without any form of maintenance agreement or something like that to ask for redress? The statement was, of course, in direct contradiction to a sworn testimony of the Idemia representative who appeared before the parliamentary committee. He not only confirmed an ongoing contract on Huduma number, but also another one on police fingerprinting project. Why would the CS contradict a statement given under oath by the representatives of the very company in question? Who are we to believe? And even if we are to assume that what the CS is saying is true and that in fact there is no existing contract with the company, wouldn't he be worried that the country got supplies of that magnitude or any at all from an entity that has a dubious legal status in Kenya? I mean, think about it. MPs, including the majority leader, almost unanimously vote to say that the government has been dealing with an illegal entity to supply election kits and now Huduma number registration kits. Shouldn't the CS at least be seeking to find out what evidence the MPs have? I mean, the report, if you read, for example, in the testimonies that were given to the committee, he should have read them. Does he not want to know if these allegations are true, or does he not care how a company that is not registered in Kenya, that has apparently violated the provisions of the Companies Act, is getting all these tenders? Wouldn't he want to know which officials have been dealing with them and awarding them the contracts? Why would he be so dismissive? The latest CS, or indeed any government, the least, I should say, that the CS or indeed any government official will be doing right now is to ask for proper investigation. After all, one would imagine that the Huduma registration that the CS is talking about a lot can still continue even without this company. Or can it not? That's my angle tonight.